Even 4 decades after its release, this 80s flick remains as likable and relatable as ever. Adapted from the Stephen King novella The Body, this Rob Reiner film saw 4 friends exploring the outskirts of Castle Rock, Oregon, looking for the body of a missing kid. Now, they figured they can become heroes of the town if they can locate the body. But what they end up having is a bonding experience that transforms them on a single day. Today, the film's emotional resonance hasn't dimmed. It still pulls us back to that specific, irreplaceable feeling of camaraderie, reminding us of a time when the biggest problems in the world could be solved with a group of friends and a shared secret. It's a cinematic time capsule, perfectly capturing the bittersweet, heartfelt, and endlessly formative spirit of childhood. So find your pair of sneakers, grab your canteen, and meet us by the railroad tracks as Laramie Wells, Vinny Brzezinski, and I discuss Stand By Me from 1986 on this episode of the 80s Flick Flashback Podcast. Well, welcome to the show, everybody. I am your host, Tim Williams. So glad to have you with us on this episode. And as always, I'm thrilled to have a talented team in the studio with me again. First, he's ready to navigate through the woods and share insights from the source material that the movie is adapted from Moving Panels Podcast. Welcome back, the one and only Laramie Wells. How you doing, Laramie?
Yeah, I'm good. I come in and out of your life like a busboy in a restaurant.
And I'm incredibly excited to have this gentleman back on the show. He may not be a Castle Rock native, but he knows how to feel the tracks to know when a train is coming. Please welcome back to the show, Vinny Brzezinski. How you doing, Vinny?
Good, guys. How are you doing?
Good. So, Stand By Me. So this is part of a kind of a rewatch series. So I've decided to go back and re-record some episodes on some movies that I covered back in season 1 when the show was still kind of figuring out what we were doing or what I was doing. And so Laramie was actually on that first episode and talked about the book quite a lot. So we probably won't get as deep into that this time with the new format, but wanted to kind of see it with fresh eyes, new voices, and just it's such a good movie. I don't mind rewatching again and talking about it some more. So let's jump on in. So Vinny, we'll start with you. When did you see Stand By Me for the very first time?
Don't know the exact date. I know it was in the 80s, right? I just remember going to the local video store, seeing the sleeve for it. And I'm like, oh, this looks pretty cool. Knew nothing about it. And just fell in love with it, right?
Yeah.
I think that was the first time I might have heard the song Stand By Me, right? Which is great. But then, when she started going to other 80s movies and you saw one of the Coreys was in it, River Phoenix was in it, right? Then Wil Wheaton came as like Star Trek fame. And I was just like, this was one of the ones that started me with this, but I watched this movie so many times. I think the local video store just probably should have gave it to me at this point because it was always in my possession, at least once a month.
Gotcha. What about you, Laramie? On TV?
Yeah, probably. I should have listened back to what I said the first time we did this episode. Yeah, but more than likely it was on TV. And then I picked up originally the VHS. I had a VHS of this, and then later got the DVD. I haven't upgraded from my DVD yet, but this is a great one for me. And as a Stephen King fan, it's one of the ones I really like, especially the fact that it comes from the same group of stories that Shawshank Redemption comes from, which is my absolute favorite movie. So, this is a good one. Yeah, but I can't pinpoint exactly when I watched it, but yes, probably more than likely on television.
Yeah, this is one of those that I don't remember the first time watching it, but I'm pretty sure that I rented it or we re-rented it and watched it. I don't think we watched it as a family. I think this was probably like during the summer, like my friends and, from friends of ours, or went to a friend's house and watched it. But I remember seeing the original, like the theatrical version. But then I remember when it came on TV, I was so excited and I recorded the TV version and I watched the TV version so many times that even watching it again today, like I remember the edits, like the lard, which they just called the lard. They called him lard in the TV version, and how they had to edit all the vomit. And it was just like, it was so choppy. It like really, it was so hard to keep up with watching the TV version. So getting to watch it again today, like, cause I've seen it I've seen it many times since then, but because I watched the TV version so many times in my head, like that's what I remember. Those are like my core memories. Yeah. So, but
it's funny watching that scene too, because the vomit doesn't quite line up with their mouths.
No.
So. Honestly, you don't really notice until you get into a better resolution. Like, I mean, I've seen it so many times back in the day, and then rewatching it this weekend, I'm like, oh, it's not even close to being lined up. Like, it's just...
Yeah, at least it's better than like when I think Saturday Night Live, when they started like getting, like it became like almost every week there was some kind of episode where somebody was vomiting, but they did it with like their hand.
They did it with their hand. Yeah.
You
see the tube coming out of there.
Yeah. It's like, at least it's better than that. So, yeah. But how long has it been since you rewatched it before rewatching it for the podcast? I'll go back the other way, Laramie.
Honestly, it was probably when we did the show the first
5
time
years
around.
ago.
Yeah. Honestly, it probably was.
Okay. What about you, Vinny?
If it's on like a streaming service, it's normally one of my Labor Day rewatches every year, right?
Yeah,
so
it's a
it's
good
just
time to watch
going back to school, go back, and when I have days off, you know, I have to do something between college football games. So I was just like, let me go in and watch this. But yeah, it's probably yearly, and every time it's on TV, even if it's in the background, it's on.
Yeah, it pops in and out of the streaming services every once in a while. Like I think it'll be on like Max, and then I'll see it pop up. I'll see it pop up on Tubi every once in a while, but it usually doesn't stay on there very long. But yeah,
it was on something. I remember I was going to watch it for Memorial Day because it was on one of the streaming services, and then I'm like, no, I normally watch it the other holiday. And then I go to rewatch it this weekend, and it wasn't there. I had to get it on Prime, but it's fine.
Right.
But I was like, you telling me right now there's not on anywhere? Because I thought all the Stephen King stuff was on HBO Max. I just watched the Longest Walk, right? Or the Long Walk, whatever it's called. So I figured those would be on there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's on MGM Plus, but who has that?
Who has that?
I don't even know what that is.
It's basically it's going to come to Amazon Prime like in 2 months, but if it's a new release, like it'll be on MGM Plus like a month or two before it comes to Amazon. So Amazon Prime. Yeah, I've watched it. I can't say I've watched it every year, but I've watched it at least once since we recorded the last episode. And I'm kind of like you, Vinny. I may not watch it every summer, but it's definitely a summer movie. Like I think of that in the summertime. Like I want to watch it when it's like a really hot day outside and I just want to be like in a cool place and watch, them being outside, our escapism. I don't want to be outside. I want to watch other people outside. So that's when I want to watch it.
Especially living in the South, right? When that June and July comes, it's like we don't want to go outside.
No, I do not like the humidity at all. So, all right, well, it's that time of the show we put our nostalgic knowledge to the ultimate test. It's time for Risky Quizness.
Risky Quizness. Risky Quizness.
All right, we're about to see if Laramie and Vinny have been paying attention or if they've just been daydreaming about pie eating contests all afternoon. Let's see who's coming out on top today. So here's how it works. I'm going to ask you 5 true or false questions. You guys can work as a team. And of course, you can play along at home. So you're going to decide whether the statement I'm going to give you is true or false. And these are all about casting and pre-production of the movie. Are you ready?
Let's hope so.
Yeah. All right. True or false? John Cusack, who plays Gordie's older brother, Denny, was originally considered for the role of Chris Chambers. True or false?
I want to say it's false. There was a bunch, but I know the only reason he really came in And I don't know why I know this, but I think he only really came in as a favor to Rob Reiner because Rob Reiner did the Sure Thing, I think, before. And I think he was just like, hey, we need someone here. Will you come in? So I think he was a last second call for that. That's the only reason I want to say he's not up for Eyeball. I think it was kind of like Stephen Dorff was up for Eyeball.
Well, this is for Chris. This is for River.
Chris.
Yeah, this is for River Phoenix's character.
Oh, it's for Rivers. Yeah, I don't think. I don't think he was there.
He would have been too old. I mean,
yeah,
because they're supposed to be 12, although River Phoenix was, I think, 14 or 15.
Yeah, he was a little older.
Yeah. But yeah, he would have been too old for Chris.
So, yeah, you're right. Vinny hit it right on the head. He was kind of a last minute favor to Rob Reiner. They had a hard time finding the right fit for the older brother, and so because he would just finish filming The Sure Thing with Rob Reiner, he called him and said, "Hey, I just need you for a couple of hours on one day for a few small scenes." So, yeah, good job, Vinny. All right,
thanks, YouTube.
Number 2. Kiefer Sutherland, who played the bully Ace, was notoriously friendly with the younger actors off camera to ensure that they felt safe. True or false?
I want to say true. If I'm not mistaken, he trained River Phoenix how to play Stand By Me, and that's one of the ways that this caught by. So I think he was pretty good.
I have heard that.
The younger guys.
I would say that was true as well.
You guys are knocking it out of the park. He was, he did, like, there were times he did to keep his distance before intense scenes, but he was like a big brother to the young actors as well. So, all right. I smell a sweep coming on. All right. Number 3. The leech scene in the swamp was completely computer generated to ensure the safety of the young actors.
No, the leeches were made out of some slight, like, gelatin type stuff and were put on their body with rubber cement. Yeah,
and I think the pond was actually, they did make that pond. I read somewhere.
Yeah. It was a man-made pond that they left filled for like 3 months or like 3 weeks. So by the time they got it, they had no idea what was living in it.
Yeah, Corey Feldman's told the story where he said that they did it as a man-made because they didn't want to use a real, place because they didn't know what was in it.
Right.
But he was like, but then they left it sitting there for 3 months. So we really didn't know what was in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly right. They were not real leeches, but they weren't computer generated. Even so, the solution they used for their skins didn't come off very well. And so unfortunately, the next day they went to a water park, but they wouldn't let them ride any of the slides because they had all these marks on their bodies that they couldn't explain. So
yeah. Because it was like rubber cement and red food coloring, so that when they pulled it off, it would look like
you could see the red. Yeah, but it didn't. See the red. It wouldn't. The red wouldn't wash off, so it's still like they had red marks all over their bodies. So, all right, number 4, true or false? Before filming began, director Rob Reiner insisted that the 4 leads, River Phoenix, Wil Wheaton, Corey Feldman, and Jerry O'Connell, lived together in a rented house to build genuine chemistry before cameras rolled.
I know they met. I don't know how.
Yeah.
If you try to throw a trick question, I don't know if they lived in the same house. I know they met before.
I know he had them do like improv stuff together, and I know there was.
I know you're trying to get us with the house
bond.
Thing.
Yeah.
You're throwing a curveball.
Am I? I need an answer. True or false?
I would say true, because I would say most of the statements are already true. So
I'm going to go false on it. I don't think he's going to have, because Jerry O'Connell was like 11 at the time. So I don't think he'd have just them live. I know that they stayed in a hotel because I know they got in like a lot of trouble at the hotel. So I think that is a trick question, that they never were in a house together. I'll say false.
All right, Laramie's right. It was that they were not in the house, but they did spend significant time playing games.
Yes,
that they did the improv, but yeah, they did not live in a house together. So, all right, will they sweep a full 5 for 5? Here we go. True or false? The train used in the iconic train dodging scene was a real active railway line, and the stunt was filmed with a live train approaching. True or false?
True. They used a wide angle camera to make it look like they were closer to the train than they actually were.
That's He's right.
And he's like, yeah, whatever he said. No, yep, absolutely right. It was, the far end of the trestle with the two actors on the opposite end. And they used a long lens that shot the telephoto in, compressed the image so much that it made it look like the train was right behind them. So
yeah, and the shots of them actually running in front of the train were stunt doubles.
Stunt doubles, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Women,
I think I read they said that. Yeah, and they couldn't get them to do it right, all the scenes, and apparently Rob Reiner went nuts on them.
Yeah.
And
he couldn't get them to cry.
The time that they're actually crying was the take they took, and they were actually true crying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, good job. Full sweep, 5 for 5. We haven't had that in a while on the show. So, well, tell us how you did at home. If you played along, you can send us an email, reach out to us on social media, or leave us a comment on YouTube if that's where you watched it. So, always fun to play the trivia. So, let's jump into casting. So, we've talked about a few of these guys, but some we haven't. We'll try to go through them as best we can. So, at the top of the cast, we've got Wil Wheaton as Gordie. Of course, he played Wesley Crusher on the TV series Star Trek Next Generation. He was also Joey Trotta in Toy Soldiers in the 90s and Bennett Honecker in Flubber. Wheaton has also appeared in recurring voice acting roles as Aqualad in Teen Titans, Cosmic Boy in Legion of Superheroes, Martin Brisby in The Secret of Nim, and Mike Morningstar Darkstar in the Ben 10 franchise's original continuity. He's appeared regularly as a fictionalized version of himself on the sitcom The Big Bang Theory and in the roles of Fawkes on The Guild, Colin Mason on Leverage, and Dr. Isaac Parrish on Eureka. But yeah, I always liked him when he popped up on Big Bang Theory. He was a good character on there.
Good foil for Sheldon.
Yeah. Like, I like us, is he really a friend or not? And but that first episode where he tricks Sheldon, that's hilarious. Anyway, but yeah. This was my first introduction to Wil Wheaton for sure. I'm a big fan of Toy Soldiers. It's totally, a guilty pleasure movie. It doesn't make any sense, but it's so much fun to watch. So, Sean Astin, Keith Coogan, Wil Wheaton.
I forgot about that till you just brought it back up.
Really?
Yeah. It's.
I mean, I know I've seen it.
I saw that movie in high school.
Yeah. I went to the Dollar Theater to see it, and then I owned it on VHS, and I own it on Blu-ray now. So yeah, it's a long-standing favorite of mine. So
I was a Next Generation fan, so I knew him as Wesley Crusher.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to River Phoenix as Chris Chambers. Of course, he's the older brother of actor Joaquin Phoenix. He was known as a teen actor before taking on leading roles in critically acclaimed films, becoming one of the preeminent acting talents of his generation. He began his acting career at age 10 in television commercials. His early film roles included Explorers in 1985 and The Mosquito Coast in 86. He then made a transition to adult-oriented roles, earning a nomination for the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for his role in the drama Running on Empty in 1988. Of course, he passed away in 1993. We won't get into that part of the story, but I think I said this the last time we watched it, or last time we talked about the movie, but this is that movie when I go back and watch it that I just see what a talent he was. Like, every scene, it's just so flawless. It's a great cast anyway. Like, I think they're really good together, but he was definitely a standout, and you could see why he was such a standout.
Yeah. It's a tragic Hollywood story.
Yeah. Unfortunately. Yep. So Sean Astin said he auditioned for the role of Chris right after River Phoenix had done his audition. Astin said when he walked into the room, he knew he had no chance because he saw the filmmakers were choked up and holding back tears, meaning Phoenix had nailed the audition. Astin said he was equally impressed by Phoenix's performance when he saw the film and agreed that Phoenix was the right actor for the part.
Yep. I know nothing against Sean Astin. I do not see Sean Astin playing that part.
No.
I see Sean Astin playing Gordie. I don't see Sean Astin.
Yeah, I could see him playing Gordie for sure. So,
but I don't see him playing Chris.
Yeah. All right, going down the list, Corey Feldman. Of course, we talked about Corey Feldman in several episodes already. Friday the 13th, the final chapter in 84, Gremlins in 84, The Goonies in 85, Lost Boys in 87, License to Drive in 88, So nothing new to add about Corey Feldman in this, but I will say, and I might have said this last time we talked about it, this might be my favorite Corey Feldman performance, where I feel like he was actually really acting, like he's not just playing a version of a character that he wants to be, even though he's said that this was the character that was closest to his real life, like at the time, which I think is why it comes across very genuine. But
although at the same time, Corey Feldman has proven that you don't always trust everything he says.
This is, we won't jump down that rabbit hole, but yeah.
Yeah, I would think it would be between this and Lost Boys for me for some of his best. I thought those two he was very himself in, or it felt like he was himself in those.
Yeah. Yeah, I like him in Lost Boys too. That, of course, that was the first Corey's movie together. But he definitely was better in that than the others for sure. So,
I mean, you don't think his best is the voice of Donatello in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
I try not to think about it, honestly.
I was out honestly today years old when I found out that you
really? Yeah.
So he was the original Donatello, like from the original?
in the live action, the 90s movie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
in the
I guess
live
he
action
wasn't
movie,
he?
he's the voice. He's obviously he's not in the suit, but he's the voice of Donatello.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
You can tell if there's a few times.
Now that you
can
say that,
definitely
I can
tell.
hear it. I can hear it.
Yeah. So, all right, and rounding out the four, we've got Jerry O'Connell as Vern. He's known for his roles in the TV shows Sliders, My Secret Identity, Joe's Apartment.
Loved My Secret Identity.
He was Frank Cush in Jerry Maguire, 96, Derek in Scream 2, Michael in Tomcats, Charlie Carbone in Kangaroo Jack, and Detective Woody Hoyt in the NBC drama Crossing Jordan. But this was his debut film. And of course, he's, totally different now. Well, he's still very goofy, but different than he was back then. I do think it's interesting, and this is because we just recently watched Goonies, or we just recently episode on Goonies. The opening scene where Vern makes his entrance about, I don't forgot the secret knock. I'm like, this feels so much like Chunk and the Goonies. Like that, those two scenes could almost be paired together. I mean, they're not exactly the same, but you get that same feel of like the outsider who wants to be part of the group, who is part of the group, but like he's always the butt of the jokes and doesn't know the secret knock or the secret word.
But he brought the comb.
He did bring the comb, even though he lost it on the bridge.
Even though he loses it, yeah.
That was, it's so sad. You can see it falling out of his pocket. I'm like, no, don't lose the comb. So, all right. So before we jump into the rest of the cast, we'll ask this question: who is your favorite of the four, and which one did you relate to the most as a kid when you first saw it?
I'll go first. I related more to Vern more. I was a chunky kid.
Yeah, we talked about that. We talked about the Teen Wolf episode, right?
Yeah, I was a bigger kid. And saying that, there's no way that Lord Ass was 185 pounds, or the way they made him look. I was 210 and I didn't have that build.
Right.
When I was like 10 years old. I was also 6'1", but still. But no, I mean, I was always that kid that was a little bigger, right? And I not that he was big, but he was always the funny chubby kid, right? So, and he loved Pez, and I love Pez, so I always felt like it was a good.
Who doesn't
good
love
character
Pez?
fit.
Come on, who doesn't love Pez?
I mean, look,
I love Pez.
I always quote the whole. If someone's like, what do you want to eat? And I'm like, that's easy, Pez, cherry flavored Pez, and no one ever gets the quote. And I just walk away. I'm like, okay,
yeah.
Okay.
What about you, Laramie?
I don't know, that's kind of a hard one for me. I would probably say it would either be Vern or Gordie. Because I wasn't a chubby kid. I was actually a very scrawny kid. But I was kind of I was kind of just the quintessential Boy Scout, if you will.
Okay.
And so whichever one you want to kind of put into that category would probably be where I was. Not quite to the level that Teddy is,
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wasn't like obsessive about military stuff and you know, doing everything a certain way, but you know, I kind of had that that goofiness like Vern does. But at the same time, I was kind of just the average kid, like I think Gordie kind of portrays in this.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be the guy that brought a comb when you have almost a shaved head?
Honestly, probably. You know, it's that whole Boy Scout, be prepared. You know, so
Yeah, be prepared.
well, how about you, Tim?
Yeah, that's what I say. I think Gordie was who I gravitated towards the most when I watched it the first time, and not because I was a lot like him, but I was very like skinny, like he was very thin. But I also like stories, like, but I'm not a very, I like say, I don't think I'm a good storyteller. I usually just pull from other stories and like make my own story. I'm more of an adapter than a like original thought kind of guy. But I liked that he kind of told the stories, and he was only brave when he needed to be. Like he wasn't, you know, you could tell like Chris had the confidence that you would think he would be like the real lead. Definitely not Vern, definitely not Teddy. So yeah, it was probably more Gordie. But my favorite character was Chris, because that confidence is what I wanted. Like, but I also had friends like Chris too, that were like misunderstood, and people looked at them as being like bad influences, but I knew they were good guys who just came out of bad situations. And so, yeah. So do you have a different for your favorite versus who you related to the most?
I mean, I always wanted to be Chris, right? I always wanted to be the cool kid, right? I think that, but I just remember, well, for all of them, I hate cigarettes. Even back then when I saw them all smoke, it was all kind of a turn off. But I was just like, I would want to be this kid. But I was like, I knew I would never be that guy, because I don't have, I always pushed that limit, but I never went the next step. And I was like, oh, it'd be cool to be that guy for like a day and then go back to normal.
Laramie?
Yeah. I don't know. I'd probably still say Vern or Gordie. Cause yeah, it'd be cool to be the cool kid, but I think kind of like Vinny's saying, like, I think with both Teddy and Chris, although their performances are great and all that, you know, I think what takes me away from being their favorite is Chris, just being a little too rebellious, and then with Teddy just being a little too nuts. So that's probably what, or, you know, for the joke, just edit me saying, you know, my favorite is Ace. There you go.
Well, that's what we're going to talk about next. So let's jump into the rest of the cast. So Kiefer Sutherland is Ace. Born to actors Donald Sutherland and Shirley Douglas, he got his first leading film role in the Canadian drama The Bay Boy in 1984. Of course, he's been in films such as The Lost Boys, which we've covered, Young Guns we've covered, and in the 90s he went to Flatliners, A Few Good Men, The Three Musketeers, Freeway, A Time to Kill, Phone Booth, and on it goes. He's had a prolific career and still one of my favorite actors when he's in stuff. He's not in stuff as much as I'd like for him to be, but yeah, still has the blonde hair, or I guess he had the blonde hair he kept the blonde hair for Lost Boys, because he's kind of, he's not playing the same character, but he plays such a good bad guy. Like, he plays such a good, like, menacing character. So.
Well, you heard the fan theory, right? With that?
I think, but go ahead and say it again, because I haven't.
So this is actually the way this is the way I actually found out this was actually in Portland, Oregon versus Portland, Maine, like the rest of them are. Right. But they said after a bunch of troubled stuff, he actually moves, they get shipped out, his parents kick him out, and he goes down to California. He's lost. And he finds this guy who turns him into a vampire, and he turns into the guy from Lost Boy. I'm like, it's pretty clever. Yeah. It also has Teddy in it, so you never know. I was like, that kind of makes sense. Like, it's one of those ones where you see, you're like, oh, that could never happen. But if you it's in Portland, Oregon, he only goes, a couple hours?
Yeah,
right? And there he is.
Just head south, yeah. And then he got bitten say he got bitten in the 50s. He doesn't age.
Yeah.
So even though it's 87, and by the Lost Boys, he's still the same age. So I can see that.
I will say though, I know we said we weren't going to talk about the book an awful lot. The character of Ace does return in another Stephen King book.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He returns in Needful Things.
He does, doesn't he?
Yes. Yeah. He becomes like the enforcer of I can't remember the Gaunt, the devil character.
Okay.
Leland Gaunt? I can't remember. But he kind of becomes his enforcer, and so although that you use the movie, the fact the movie is set in Castle Rock, Oregon, whereas all the other Stephen King things is Castle Rock, Maine.
Yeah.
But in the books, the character does, and you mentioned Teddy. Teddy is actually referenced in pre this. Teddy is actually referenced in Carrie.
Yeah.
Well, really?
Yeah. He
Cool.
he worked. He was no longer there, but he worked at the gas station, at one of the gas stations that Carrie blows up when she's on her spree going from the prom back home.
Learning
So,
tons
and
of
the-
stuff today.
And the timeline fits. So, because if he was 12 in 1950, whatever it is, and Carrie takes place in the 70s, that would make sense that he was probably in his 20s or something when the incidents, when he was working at that gas station.
Yep. They reference him in the gas station. I had that in my notes. I was going down to look at it. So yeah, that's good.
You're talking to the Stephen King guys.
Exactly. I have I jump ahead. I have no problem with that. So, all right, going back to the cast, Casey Siemaszko, I always probably say his name wrong, is Billy. Of course, we talked about him in Back to the Future, as well as Young Guns. He's also been in Of Mice and Men, which is one of my favorite books. And he had the leading role in the 80s film 3 O'Clock High. So, but yeah, he's good in this. And then Gary Riley as Charlie Hogan. He received notice for his portrayal as Dave in the 87 comedy Summer School, which Laramie and I talked about a long time ago. He made notable appearances as the thief who steals money from Steve Martin and John Candy's characters' wallets in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And he's also the metalhead customer who Judge Reinhold cannot bear to rip off after discovering his girlfriend is pregnant in the movie Ruthless People with Danny DeVito and Bette Midler, which I just rewatched like 2 weeks ago. I was like, yeah, that's Dave and Chainsaw from Summer School.
It's cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't recognize him.
Yep. And then Bradley Gregg as Eyeball Chambers. He's best known for supporting roles in this movie, A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, which just covered last year. And he's also in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade from 1989.
I remember him from Dream Warriors. That's where I was like, I'm looking yesterday. I'm like, I know he looks familiar. And I'm like, that's it.
Mm-hmm. Him and River Phoenix were actually close friends, and they appeared in the beginning of the movie Explorers as well in 1985, and they're also in the opening scene of Indiana Jones and Last Crusade together.
Oh, okay.
There you go. So for another Nightmare on Elm Street reference, we've got Marshall Bell as Mr. LaChance. He was in Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. He was also
the
in
creepiest
character. Yeah. He was also in Twins in 88, Total Recall in 1990, which is what I probably remember the most from, and Starship Troopers in 1997. And then if Miss LaChance looks familiar, it's because she was in Gremlins as Lynn Peltzer, the mother of main character Billy Peltzer. She also played Kevin Bacon's mom in Footloose. And the third mom, she's the mother of Lorraine in Back to the Future. So let's not say she wasn't typecast, but yeah.
Yeah.
And then we've got Richard Dreyfuss as the writer, as he's credited, but of course he's the adult Gordie. Of course, he rose to prominence with starring roles in American Graffiti in 73, Jaws in 75, Close Encounters of the Third Kind in 77. He's been in a ton of movies like Mr. Holland's Opus, Down and Out in Beverly Hills, Stakeout, Always, Postcards from the Edge, What About Bob, The American President, Piranha 3D, gotta put that in there.
There
And
you
of
go.
course, Red from 2010, which Laramie and I
Love it.
just covered on his podcast last year as well. So, but yeah, and they had trouble casting that role. They had actually had cast someone else in the role before Richard Dreyfuss. It wasn't a name that I recognized, but he was an actor of like the late 70s, early 80s. And then they tried Michael McKean, or Michael McKean, I guess you'd say his name, who auditioned, but then they ended up going with Richard Dreyfuss. So perfect choice.
I was watching this yesterday again, and I look at the first scene. I'm like, that's not Richard Dreyfuss. So apparently the first
No.
guy that they had,
Yes.
they
In the
kept
truck?
in that first scene.
Yes.
Yes.
I was like,
It's not-
same.
man, Richard Dreyfuss looks really different.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden they show him a little, in a little bit. I'm like,
Mm.
that's not the same person. And then I Googled it, and they're like, they mistakenly left that guy in for the first
Mhm.
part where he reads that Chris died. And I'm like,
Yeah.
good, because I thought I was going crazy for a second, because it was like, that looks nothing like him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were going to go over budget to reshoot that. It's too far away. Nobody's going to notice.
It was David Dukes. Was
Yeah,
the
David
actor.
Dukes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly,
which-
I would like back in the day, I never noticed, but again, now they get, I guess, more high
Yeah.
definition, and I'm looking at
Yeah,
this, and I'm just
Of
like,
course.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, well, that's not him.
Nah. But he did. He later was in. He still did a Stephen King thing. Me with my Stephen King references. He did the miniseries Rose Red.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
No, if
Gotcha.
yeah, he was in that
Gotcha.
many years later.
Gotcha. All right, and then rounding out the cast, more cameos here, but of course we mentioned already John Cusack as Denny LaChance. We've talked about John Cusack several times. Better Off Dead, The Sure Thing. Oh, I haven't done The Sure Thing yet, but Better Off Dead, One Crazy Summer, Say Anything, been well discussed on the podcast. And then who Laramie and I just spoke about on our last episode, Dick
Swamp
Durock
Thing.
as Bill Travis. He's in the pie eating contest. He played the DC comic superhero Swamp Thing in both the feature film Swamp Thing in 82 and the return of Swamp Thing in 89. And so which
Did not know that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I honestly forgot he was in it, and then he walked out, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Hey,
Yeah, we just saw him on a Blind Date.
Yeah.
On Blind Date. So all right, anybody else from the cast that I might have missed, or anybody you want to talk about, or somebody that stood out for you that you wanted to add more about?
Thank you.
So I will throw this out. Were you aware that what's his name? But the kid that actually plays Bauer,
Oh, yeah.
that he went on to be like a stunt coordinator.
You know what? I did not even look at his credits, but that I think I do remember reading that somewhere. But yeah.
And he's also in the pie eating scene.
He is in the pie eating scene. Yep. I did read
He's standing behind the twins.
the
Yeah.
So
So again, with the high definition, you could probably go, "Hey, that was the same dude."
he just looks more alive in this scene.
Yeah.
All right,
A lot
well,
more
let's
color
talk.
in his face.
Yeah. All right, well, let's talk about iconic scenes. So this should be a fun one. So, Laramie, I'll start with you. When somebody says "Stand by Me," what's the first scene that pops in your head?
I'm torn between two. So there's the running from the train on the bridge,
Yep.
and there's the leeches.
Okay.
For me, it's both of those. Like
Mhm.
those immediately flood my mind. Probably initially. Then there's others that will come
Oh
after
yeah,
it.
for
but,
sure.
But my initial thought probably goes to one of those two.
What about you, Vinny?
I hate to say it, but like those two in Quicksand unlocked my terrors from the 1980s. Right?
Yeah.
I always thought I was going to die of quicksand, according to everyone. Right.
Right.
But where I grew up in a small town, Pennsylvania. I lived by a river, a lot of lakes, and there's train trestles. Right.
Okay.
So some of my friends were like, "Oh, we're gonna go over there," and and there is a high train trestle. And
Mhm.
after I saw that movie, I'm like, I'm not crossing that train trestle. There's no way my fat butt's getting across that train trestle if a train is coming. but you don't realize like most of the time your feet could fit in between these slats. Like it's very scary. And then the leeches thing, like I was like, I'm not going in the lake. They're like, now granted, I've never met anyone that had a leech, but I just remember they're like, oh, you going in the river or whatever? I'm like, nope. I just watched Stand By Me. I'm not going in there. There was never any sand, so we're good. There was no quicksand, but the other two were true life. I don't want to say, horror for me, but it was just like, they could have happened. And I was like, going in there. I always did like, it still even got me nerve wracked when I watched it yesterday. The chicken scene, like where he was going.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this go over. Come on, it's cool. You could lose. And then all of a sudden the logs, and then logs run into Final Destination for me. And I'm just like, Like even watching it yesterday, I'm like, I'm going to turn my head and just do something else on the computer for a minute.
Yeah. Those are good. I forgot about the chicken scene. Yeah, until you said it, I was like, oh yeah, that is pretty intense. But yeah, I would say the same. Like we lived. There was someone we lived. I think we might have been in Maryland. We used to walk all across the base, and there were train tracks there. Like we didn't have a trestle, but even just walking on train tracks that were like off the road. Like I didn't like walking on the train tracks. Like I just didn't. It was just something about it. And I would do the thing where I'd like put my hand down to try to feel any vibrations. I never did, but he was like, it's like, is it real?
And I love how he goes down to feel the vibrations, and then the train's behind him. Like, there's no like, could it be? Is it? You just turn around. You see the smoke coming out of the side. No, I'm the same way. Even when I would go to like, Six Flags, just crossing the train track.
Oh yeah, that's Six Flags.
It's like, hold up.
Yeah.
Like, the trains were terrifying as a kid.
And I think the leech scene that made it worse when you're a younger kid, the leeches would have stunk, but where the one leech was, and you're just like,
no.
No, why does it have to be there? Like it could be anywhere else. Why there? Yeah. For me, iconic scenes, definitely the train. The train sequence is probably the most iconic for sure. The pie eating contest scene is one that I always think about as well. And then at the end when Gordie pulls the gun on Ace, like I definitely that always stands out to me too. Or that confrontation was always one of my favorite parts. So what about
another one?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so another one really quick is when you're a kid and watching this at 8 years old, when they used to do the phrase that came after chopper.
Yes.
And the immature kid in me would be like,
yeah. Oh yeah. It's funny with it being like, and it was rated R and it was intentional because even though I don't think they used in the promotion of it being based on a Stephen King novella, but because Stephen King was known for horror, they didn't think anybody would go see a quote unquote Stephen King movie that was PG or PG-13. So they purposely put, the language and things in it to give it an R rating. But there's so many phrases and so many things in that, like if you're not that age, like there were so many things I could relate to as a kid. Cause I watched it, I was probably about 10 or 11 when I saw it. So, like the conversations they were having, the things that they joked about, like that was still, even though it was a different decade, it was still very, I could still relate to it a lot. So, like that, the whole, sick balls. I mean, I think we could say that on this podcast, but like,
I think I didn't know. So that's
fine.
Like,
no, you've already said lard ass. We're well past that now. But yeah, like the sick balls, like, I mean, that would definitely be something that we would have called some wild dog in our neighborhood. And probably we called every dog we saw after that, that's what we would call, and
then the phrase would always come up. And like, I just remember seeing this is one of the first movies I thought that was like kind of like edgy for me. Cause I was like 7 or 8. I saw it 87, 88. Right.
Yeah.
But everyone that saw that movie, every time you saw a dog, that's what they would say.
Yeah.
At least until I was in my teens.
Right. Look out, it's Chopper. Yeah. So, which they made look like Cujo if you noticed. So,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, all right. What about favorite scenes? So, any scenes outside of the iconic scenes that you would consider your favorite, or ones that impacted you, or you want to talk about?
So later in life, I kind of liked his scenes with his brother. early
Mhm.
on, you don't understand death when I was young and all that
Right.
kind of stuff. Like losing some people in your life, going older, like when I watched it yesterday, I'm just going back, I'm like, this would have touched me if I was like an adult back then, right? Losing his brother, seeing his mom,
Mhm.
you know, I don't want to say
How a
comatose. That was kind
Yeah.
of like how she was, but
Yeah.
just going through all the things with what he was dealing with, and it's just I felt more in touch with that later on in life, and then I didn't
Mhm.
expect that yesterday when I was watching it. It's just something strange, but um, yeah, I was like, oh, that it's hit more now than it did 20 years ago.
Well, yeah, for sure. Like that you bring a great point because like as a kid, I didn't understand like why his parents like they just seem mean. Like why are they so mean to him? I don't
Yeah.
understand why they're mean. But now as an older, like knowing how people process grief and like understanding like how death affects a family, especially a death that tragic and unexpected for a son. So yeah, I definitely see those scenes through different eyes as an adult for sure. So
And then you go in, like when he went to that grocery store, that convenience store, and the guy was like, "You
yeah,
play football like your brother?"
right,
And like again,
right,
back then you're just like, it didn't make sense, but then you're just, I mean, it kind of did, but
yeah,
you
yeah,
feel it now, and you're like, what he was probably going through in a small town. But if you grew up in a small town, everyone knows everything about him.
everything. Yep, yep.
And going
Mhm.
through it, I'm like, man, this kid must have been going through it. And when you were
Hmm.
rewatching that movie,
Yeah,
Well,
which is
that and
good.
I was just gonna coming off of that when the junkyard guy like is
Hmm.
yelling at him through the fence, like he's
Hmm.
telling all four of them how he knows who they are, he
Hmm.
knows what their personal life is like. So yeah, it's definitely that connection. I think with me in that same regard of seeing it differently as you get older, and also after reading the book. I kind of wish, and I thought about it when I was watching it this time, that Rob Reiner did elaborate a little bit more on Gordie seeing the deer,
Okay.
because in the book that's a much more like poignant moment,
Hmm.
and I mean it essentially has to deal with what the story is essentially about. It's Gordie kind of catching that last moment of innocence.
Hmm.
Um, you know, where when he's when he's I don't know if you'd say metaphorically or whatnot, headed towards death. Um, so it's kind of that whole kind of same idea. But I mean, Stephen King does that in a lot. I mean, there's a lot of connections you can make with this book and it, for instance, um, of where he does a lot of that kind of loss of innocence and growing up and nostalgia and all that.
Hmm.
Although I do always find it funny, I think that the the pie eating, and they're saying, "Well, what happens next? What happens next?"
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
they kind of joke at Gordie about not being able to finish a story,
Right,
which
right.
I kind of find funny because that's notorious about Stephen King too, is that he
Yeah.
doesn't do a good job at finishing a story.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
but
read that
yeah,
was
so
there's like an inside joke, yeah, or like a little dig at Stephen King there.
yeah, that one just hit home because I think I was telling you guys I just watched The Long Walk,
Hmm.
and I was
Mhm.
just like, is this over? Like,
Yeah,
this
Yeah.
is
yeah, yeah.
Look,
I was
complete sidebar. Have you read that book?
I have not.
The endings are different, and I'll be happy to tell you the ending of the book after we stop recording.
Yeah, I do want to hear it because I was watching this and I was like, oh, this isn't. People said it was hit and miss, but then
yeah,
it was like it just ended, and I'm
yeah,
just
yeah,
like, okay,
Well, so does the book. I'll tell you that, but they
yeah,
have different endings.
yeah. I
gotcha.
was warned about the ending and I watched it anyway and I was like, "Oh, now I know why you said
Yeah.
Mhm.
why you said what you said." So yeah. Uh yeah. Uh yeah, any other favorite scenes like for me like like there's funny scenes. I'll talk about a funny scene first and I'll talk about my favorite like funny, I would say funny scene is them standing watch at night in the woods
Yeah.
and Vern with the
Trevor.
gun and every noise and he jumped like every time that's just comedy gold. Like I could watch that and still like chuckle every time I see it. So I love that sequence. For more of the serious, like the scene with Chris and Gordie at the campfire, I like them kind of really having that heart-to-heart conversation. Once again, River Phoenix, just the gravity that he brings to the role, he brought to the character, and even and giving Wil Wheaton his credit, like he's not, I'm not brushing him off either, because I think he does well as well, but it's just one of those great scenes in a movie that you just I'm just when that scene is on, I'm not distracted. I have to watch it and like soak in every word and soak in every moment. It's just a great scene. So
and when he tells the story about stealing the money, I think this is a true story. Apparently, Rob Reiner wasn't getting the emotion he wanted out of him.
Yeah,
very similar to the fear they had running, and so he got River into a mindset that just caused him to have that, and that's what moment we see.
Yeah,
but apparently after they shot that, he was so locked into that feeling that Rob actually had to take him aside and calm him back down.
Yeah, he told him to think of a time when an adult had disappointed him or let him down. And he got so into it. Yeah, he couldn't. It took some time to bring him back to be able to shoot something else. So yeah. All right. Well, I want to read before we jump into like scenes and trivia. I want to read this little blurb that I saw. I kind of paraphrased a little bit more, but I thought this was a good kind of a good way to kind of summarize the movie. Although Stand By Me is mainly seen as a coming-of-age drama rather than a horror film, fear is a central emotion in the story. For Gordie, it's the fear of a life without his brother and the pressure of living up to his parents' expectations, who are now distant. Chris's fear was never escaping his family's reputation. Vern worries about not fitting in and becoming the target of jokes, while Teddy is haunted by the trauma inflicted by his father and the fear of inheriting his madness. The real horror stems from their personal demons, not monsters, as they threaten to derail the boys at every step. So that was really good kind of breakdown of the movie. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. No, I do think that kind of each one of them represents a different kind of aspect of growing up. And even their futures,
Yeah.
So, which that's sad. Just to go back to the book. In the book, we learn about all of their futures.
Right.
And we find out that Chris was actually the third one to die. That Vern and Teddy had already died.
No way.
Yeah. Teddy, I believe it's Teddy is killed in a car crash. It was like him and some friends, either drinking or doing drugs or whatnot, and they slam into I think it's a telephone pole. That kills him. And then Vern actually like gets married, has kids and all that, but then he dies in a house fire. So yeah, they don't tell those and they don't give those in the movie because I guess they didn't want it entirely to be a bummer at the end.
Right.
Because also in the book, Ace actually gets his revenge on them when they get back in town and beats the snot out of them, like breaks Gordie's hand. And
that was one thing I always wondered. I'm like, you're going back to the same small town. You just pointed a gun at like the biggest bully. And it never really, like, it's not like he's like, I feel bad for him. His brother just died. We're just going to let him go.
Right.
You knew there was something was going to happen, but it never gets brought up.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, because here's a difference in the book and the movie. Gordie's not the one that pulls the gun in the book. It's Chris.
Yeah, I think I was reading.
I like Gordie better.
Yeah, I like Gordie better too. Yeah.
I think Rob Reiner changed it. I think it was Rob or someone changed it, but they were just like, it felt like it was, or could have been Stephen King, I think, or because I think it's supposed to be that's supposed to be about Stephen King, and I think he might have had it, but they changed it last minute. Like you said, it was supposed to be Chris, but it just felt different having the very shy, laid back kid.
Yeah.
Being like, no, Ace, just you.
Yeah. It felt like that turn in his life.
It definitely had a bigger impact, and it was, I won't say unexpected, but it was a good surprise at the end, like that it was him to do it, So, all right, well, let's talk about a few. We've covered a lot that I had in my notes for trivia, which is great. So we're getting close to our hour here, but I did find this interesting. While filming the scene in which Ace and Eyeball take Gordie's brother's Yankees cap, Kiefer Sutherland's first instinct was to put it on rather than hand it to Eyeball. Rob Reiner told Sutherland not to put the hat on as a way of showing that Ace was stealing it just to be cruel to Gordie, and not because the hat itself was all that important to Ace. Sutherland and Wil Wheaton both confirm in the DVD's behind-the-scenes documentary that the reason that Gordie never gets the hat back from Ace is because Ace threw it away immediately after stealing it from Gordie, which I hate.
I was just watching that yesterday. His brother had it on his head when he left. So unless he took it off his brother, that they do it. But I thought his brother took it just to be like a jerk, like Chris's brother took it to be a jerk. But yeah, I think if you would, maybe they would have showed a photo of it laying on the ground or something. I think would have been a little bit more telling. But that would have been good to know, like back then.
I think it talked. Excuse me. It speaks of Ace's character of like he is a real bully. Like he's not just taking it because he wants it. He's taking it just to antagonize. I mean, that's which you see that in other variations. Like he makes the comment to the guys were like, if you guys had $2,000, I would have killed you myself. Like even the guys he's around, he would stab them in the back. It's not he has no loyalty to anybody. So
with the Yankees hat, and a lot of this stuff stuck with me yesterday watching it again. Because again, I always thought it was Portland, Maine, just like the rest of them. But it makes sense because I think they just never because I know they changed it late. Like if you're on the West Coast, you probably have a Dodgers hat, like in any other movie, like The Sandlot, right?
Right.
And there was also a Michigan State flag in his brother's room, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I'm thinking if you're in the West Coast, it's probably a USC or something of that nature,
Washington or even Oregon.
Something. Yeah. But Oregon, like even when you're seeing like all the photos, Rob Reiner had an Oregon hat on, right? But that, I guess it's all that little stuff made me just always think it was Maine. And also I knew some Stephen King stuff. I wasn't the biggest buff, but I knew it all took place in Maine. There's a Portland, Maine. I've been to Portland, Maine, right?
Yeah.
But I'm just watching that last night. I'm like, yeah, that would be weird for a kid out West Coast to have a Yankees hat back then. Little things you catch, but it was he just being
true.
picky.
I think it was just the fact that it was filmed in Oregon, so they just said let's just set it in.
Well, that's what they did. They fell in love apparently with that town, and that town. I was hearing that they still try to keep it as close to the Stand By Me set as they can, and people come there and they do. It's called like Brownsville or something like that. People still go out there, but it was the little things like that that I'm rewatching on this, like I never would have caught before. But now that I know it was out west, I'm like, I don't know if that would happen back then. It's really hard to find a Yankees hat in the 50s on the West Coast. Probably.
On the West Coast,
I would guess.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I didn't even put that together until you said it. I was like, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and the Brownsville, Oregon actually has a Stand By Me Day, which is right about now. Like I think it's the last Saturday of July every year.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, a few more things of trivia. The lead actors weren't allowed to see Ray Bauer until they unveiled him on camera. This method was used to unsettle the four boys and gain the best reaction possible. So the good old Richard Donner trick they did for the kids at the Goonies. So we did those already. So Rob Reiner credits much of the success with his cast to the fact that he had been an actor himself. Wil Wheaton said he did not realize it at the time, but that was the experience of working with Reiner. But that the experience of working with Reiner taught him the meaning of the term an actor's director. In the making of documentary, Kiefer Sutherland also said of Reiner, because he's so proficient as an actor, he can allow you to discover a moment when in fact he's telling it to you, which I thought was cool.
Is there ever a bad story about Rob Reiner?
Not really. None that I've heard. So,
and it was also because of this movie that Stephen King wanted him to do Misery.
Yep. exactly. And he ended up producing a couple of other adaptations as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Rob Reiner. I'm sure people have seen this, but you watch like movies, especially from the 80s and 90s, and you see the Castle Rock pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Even though that's a Stephen King thing, that's actually Rob Reiner's production studio.
I did not know that until today. Thank you, Larry.
Yep.
Same.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we have a podcast, so you can learn all these things. So. All right, let's jump into box office. The film was a box office success in North America. It opened on a limited release in 16 theaters on August 8th, 1986, and grossed $242,000, averaging about $15,000 per theater. The film then had its wide opening in 745 theaters on August 22nd and grossed $3 million, averaging $5,000 per theater and ranking at number 2. The film's widest release was 848 theaters and ended up earning over $52 million, well above its $8 million budget. So, well done. Well done. All right, now it's time to take a look at how...
It's one of those greatest movies. I'm just going to say, it's like, this is one of those movies that if you have not seen it, you need to see it. That's
for sure, yeah. I think it's on one of the lists of like the 1,000 movies you should watch before you die. I think it's one of those... I don't know if it's 1,000 or
it's also different now because a lot of people can know, you can Google it, it's Stephen King, right? But there's like a lot of times these movies back in the day and it didn't say Stephen King on it, which I don't think the poster did. You would I don't think I realized.
Well, you would have seen it at the very bottom and all those little credits. It would have said based on the book by Stephen King.
But like I didn't learn about this one until I was like maybe in high school, but junior high school. And then like another one was like Maximum Overdrive. Like I didn't know that was really Stephen King until but most of them had it, like it's from like The Shining.
I would say like Stephen King's
Carrie. But like those you would never know. But it's definitely a top 10 for me. Like it's and Laramie, you're gonna be mad at me. I just saw The Shawshank for the first time 3 weeks ago.
And you've seen it. That's the important thing.
Well, I don't know why I didn't in the past. I don't like long movies, but then I'm a huge Stephen King fan, and I watched the new It, and I'm just like, you know what? The new It was so awesome that was on HBO, and I'm like, I'm just gonna do this. But a lot of times when you go back and you watch a movie that everyone thinks is the greatest thing in the world, you go back in and you're like, meh.
I don't get it.
Like, it didn't. It wasn't that. I was just like, what took me so long to watch this?
Yeah.
And my friends all the time were just like, you love Stephen King. Why don't you do it? And I'm just like, I don't want to go there. Like if there are certain movies that I still haven't seen. Like I have not seen any of the Godfathers. I've not seen like stuff like that. But I like Scarface. I've never seen. And people are like, oh, you need to. But there's so much high expectation on it. And that's why, like, if you have not seen Stand By Me, I think it will still stand up just like The Shawshank, right?
Right.
Everyone could talk so highly of it, and you're not going to go. I don't think that you're going to go there and be like, meh. Like you're going to go in, and then it's another one of these ones that it stands the test of time because I think even in the 80s, it was a pick about the 50s,
right?
So it doesn't really change that much about it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like that, what those two have in common with Shawshank and Stand By Me is because they're period pieces, if that's what you want to call it, but because they're in a different time, they weren't trying to be current or things that you like watching it in later generations, you wouldn't understand the references. But this is like both of these movies, like, yeah, it has some 50s music in it, but that's not really it doesn't tell the story. But the heart of the story is there. And I think if the heart of the story is there, people are going to be drawn by that, not necessarily the references that they would maybe like feel like, I don't really understand why people think this is so great, or like things are like, even though this movie is like highly quotable as far as I'm concerned, it's not one of those movies that's like so highly quotable in pop culture that you're like, oh, well, that's where that reference came from. Like, I think it would still have impact for you. So, all right, well, let's jump into the rewatchability nostalgia meter. It's time to take a look at how well this 80s flick holds up today. It's our way of measuring how enjoyable a movie is for repeat viewings along with the waves of nostalgia it brings. Here's how it works. It's a 1 to 10 scale. Any number between 1 and 10 will do, but here are a few parameters to help you decide. At the bottom of the meter is a number 1, means I saw it once and that was enough. In the middle at number 5 is a good rewatch every couple of years. And at the top, the highly coveted 10 means it's highly rewatchable and full of nostalgia. So, Vinny, I'm going to put you on the spot. First up, where does Stand By Me land for you on the rewatchability and nostalgia meter?
I think if you were listening earlier, you already know my opinion on this, right?
Right.
I never like to give anything a 10. So I'll give it a 9.
Yeah. And that's
but
perfectly
again,
fine.
it's the ultimate, one of the ultimate summer movies. And not mention that it's one of the greatest movies of all time. We see some great young cast early. You have Richard Dreyfuss. He was big in the 80s. You have all this coming off, but it hit a little different that I concentrated on it for the first time watching it. I mean, I'd have it on in the past, or, hey, it's on AMC, I'm just going to throw it on. Sit down and watching it again for this time, and it just was completely different to me, and it was in a good way. Like I saw these characters different. I saw in a different light, and it's not bad, but 8-year-old Vinny watching this versus 46-year-old Vinny watching this, it hits different, but both in a good way. And I will still watch it every year. College football week for opening weekend, it will be watched again at some point. Hopefully I don't have to rent it again, but but I will watch it. I always do watch it every year.
Love it. What about you, Laramie?
Nah, it's pretty much the exact same. I kind of agree with Vinny. Like, part of me wanted to give it a 10, but I was like, I don't think I can give it a 10. Just because, like, I don't think it's the perfect movie, but yeah, it's up there as one of the greatest movies ever. Again, Shawshank to me is a little higher, but I mean, it's not that long of a watch. I mean, it's under an hour and a half. So it's over pretty quick. Again, I think also as knowing the novella, and some of the changes that were made, some, like I said, for the better, like we said with Gordie with the gun, some that I think I would have liked to have seen flesh out a little bit more, like the deer scene. But I get that they weren't trying to, because obviously the novella is narrated by Gordie. So we get a lot more into Gordie's head through the novella, whereas the movie just kind of sprinkles it in here and there. Whereas the movie plays out more in the moment. But it's 100% one of those movies that everyone needs to see. It is 100% nostalgia. And I agree with Vinny, when you watch it as a kid or a teenager, as a young adult, or even, we start reaching middle age, like there are different parts of this movie that are going to hit you. There are parts of this movie that are going to affect you differently. And that's one of the great things about Stephen King. I mean, regardless of thinking about Stephen King writing this or not, I mean, you can say, well, Stephen King's not, yes, he's known more for his horror, but the man writes everything. I mean, I just recently have read a couple of his crime stories where the man can tell a story, but whether you know it's Stephen King or not, it's still just a good story. So definitely I'll give it a 9 as well.
Right. A lot of times I hate going back to watch some of these movies, especially ones that I know I love. I'll just be honest. Like, I remember rewatching Ghostbusters about 10 years ago, and I loved the movie, but I sat there and I just criticized it. I would still recommend it if you've never seen it. Now, look, I watched some of this again, and some of it did make I over criticize. It's like, what if they're running out of time and they don't want to be on this guy's property? Why are they throwing rocks at this can in the junkyard? Like little stuff like that I started to critique. I get it; it's hot. They're trying to get shade, but you're walking through the woods. You can get shade in a woods, but it didn't kill it for me. Right? I was worried that. I mean, I've watched it so many times, but I haven't sat and analyzed it going forth. And I was just like, I was happy that it didn't kill it for me. Again, I will still watch Ghostbusters, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't hold to me. Never, like, I was like, man, why did I like this so much? It's still good, but like, if I were doing that, I'd be like, nah, it's not as rewatchable. So I was praying it didn't kill it, but no, it did. I think I liked it even more after watching it again.
Yeah.
I will say the moment you're talking about them crossing through the junkyard. I like when movies at least have a line to explain some illogical thought. So they have the line where I believe it's Teddy says, "Hey, what time is it? It's about to open." So they knew that it was closed. They knew that he and the dog were not there. And so at least that explains why they were okay, even though they're telling the story about Chopper, about going ahead and crossing into there. And you can take that maybe they knew that hanging out there for a little while, they were at least safe because they were fenced in. But I like that one line that Teddy says to at least explain why they are okay being there. Because Teddy is loud as soon as they jump over the fence.
Right.
So
I always took that as they were almost open because weren't they going to the store at that point? They were crossing over to get to the store. I always took that as they weren't open as the store, but I just
no, it was the junkyard. Yeah,
no, he said because he says that the I forgot. I don't know if they say his name or not, but the man and the dog, will be there soon. So, no, it is the junkyard.
All right. Well, for my ranking, I think it's 9s across the board for all the same reasons you guys talked about. It's highly rewatchable. I may not watch it every year, but I will watch it every couple of years. I mean, yeah, if it's on, I'm gonna sit down and watch it. So yeah, I won't say more than you guys have already said because you already said it so well. So, all right, gentlemen, I appreciate you guys joining. Thank you, Laramie. Thank you for Vinny for being a part. Such a great movie, such a great conversation. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me today.
Thanks for having us. I appreciate being on. Yeah.
Yep. All right, that's a wrap on another trip to the greatest decade of cinema. We sparked a memory or helped you rediscover a classic today. Please head over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. It truly helps the show reach more fans like you. To make sure you're always in the loop for our next deep dive, hit that follow or subscribe button. And if you want to keep the show running, consider becoming a partner over at buymeacoffee.com. For more 80s goodness, our digital headquarters is always open at 80sflickflashback.com. And while you're there, check out our TeePublic store for original designs and movie-inspired merch that'll have you looking like a 1980s icon. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm Tim Williams for the 80s Flick Flashback Podcast. We talked into the night, the kind of talk that seemed important until you discover girls.